They
Yeah.
say really intelligent people swear a lot, so
I'm brilliant then.
Yeah, I've got an IQ of like 170 easily. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dodgeball Podcast. In this episode, I'll be recapping the third annual LA Classic that took place last weekend. Here to help me do so is Kelly Salamone, Brittany Massro, Bryanna London, and Kate Gong. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me and lending your time to help recap and share what took place. I got to see a couple matches that were streamed, and as always, looked nothing short of intense, so I'm really happy to just kind of dive right into this. Let's go ahead and start with you, Kelly. Just go ahead and give us your full name and the team you played on.
Kelly Salamone, and I am captain of the Beavers.
Awesome. And then Brittany?
Brittany Massro and Pop That.
And Bryanna?
Bryanna London, captain of Money Shot.
And Kate?
Kate Gong, captain of Invasion.
Awesome. So, loaded question, I know, and we could probably just start with Brittany. What were your thoughts overall? I mean, now that the tournament's done, it was 3 divisions. How are you? Are you recovered from it already, or?
I mean, I'm making it. It's day 3. So Kelly kills us every year. So actually, Pop That is not playing in the women's league tonight because we're all old and hurting. So thanks, Kel, for that. Appreciate you. No, it's a good time.
You have your hashtag fit like Brit. I have mine. Kelly tried to kill us, so I feel like it's even.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't feel so fit like Brit after Kelly's tournament, so there's that.
Nice. Yeah. When did the hashtag Kelly tried to kill us come up?
The first year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was actually Trophy Wives, possibly Ali Bustamante, that started it, and then that was like the first post after the tournament, and then everyone who posted afterwards started using that hashtag.
Nice. And now it's a staple, right? I mean, I imagine we'll probably be seeing that for years to come.
I assume so. I hope so.
As long as Kelly keeps killing us.
Yeah.
Or trying to.
I'm going to keep putting my best foot forward.
Happy to keep trying. And how about you, Bree? How did the tournament go for you overall? Like, what are your final thoughts over it?
My favorite tournaments. The best of the best come and play. It's only tournament that has all 3 ball types, and you need a lot of endurance to be able to make it through.
Yeah, not to mention it's 2 days also, not just all one and done in one day. And you, Kate?
It was a great tournament. I really like that it's 2 days because you can have a bad day and then turn things around. I mean, 1 day tournaments, like if your team is out of sync, then you're just kind of screwed. Like sometimes you can turn things around in 1 day, but it's a little more difficult.
Are you speaking from experience this past weekend, or?
I said hashtag invasion problems.
Did that happen this weekend, or?
No. We were strong both days, but we've seeded like not last, but close to the bottom, and then won tournaments. We've also seeded first and gotten booted out pretty early. So.
Gotcha. And Kelly, I mean, now that it's all done, what are your thoughts? Especially since you pretty much run this thing, right?
Yeah, I do. I set all the groundwork, and then I'm lucky enough to have a lot of support day of. So Jake Mason pretty much runs it the day of, and then I have a really great group of guys that come and ref every year. So it makes it a lot easier for me. Allows me to be able to play, and so they're definitely my support system within all that, including my team, who always make sure that they're where they need to be, so I don't have to worry about running around trying to find them.
Nice. You're not herding cats, as they say.
No, that's the nice thing. The first year, I felt like I was herding cats with all the teams. Invasion. Yeah. You guys, looking at you, Kate. But over the last few years, everyone's definitely gotten a lot better. They all get to their courts, they get ready, and it's going quick and fast, and yeah, gets better every year.
So I'm looking at 15 teams total. Was it capped at 15 teams, or has that grown from the first year?
It has grown. The first 2 years we had 14 teams, so this year was our highest one. I was capping it at 16 just because of court space, but that's really the only reason. Hopefully, as we grow and get bigger, we can get a larger facility, and then I wouldn't need to cap any teams.
Gotcha. And then kind of wanted to double back on this one. Are you able to actually enjoy this tournament? Being as that you have to make sure everything's going well, and yeah, you do have help now, but are you able to kind of switch modes when it's time for you to actually play?
Oh yeah. And I think that's just, says so much about the people that have helped me throughout the years. But when the actual playtime is about to start, that's what I go to. That's what I do. I'll come back, check in at the desk, make sure everything's running fine, and then I can get to go back out. The thing is with the Classic is you don't have a lot of breaks, so it doesn't really matter. We played, I think, 8 games in a row. So for us, it was just back to back to back, and I didn't have to worry about anything. I just kind of trust that the people who are running it and helping me that day are doing their jobs, and they always are.
Nice. Very cool. And I definitely have more questions for you regarding the tournament itself, but since we have the panel here, let's just go ahead and dive into foam, and we'll go ahead and start with, is it Bryanna or Bree, or do you have a preference?
You can call me Bree.
Bree, cool. So yeah, let's start with you, Bree. How did the foam division go for you guys?
The first day it went pretty well. We actually were hoping that we played a seeded hider, but Invasion ended up winning 35 games the first day. But we came out really strong. The second day, though, we kind of self-destructed a little bit. Didn't finish as well as we would have liked.
Well, an invasion.
Yeah.
Is that what we're going to call that now?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that, Kate?
That's something that we do all the time.
Self-destruct.
Yeah, Beavers have done it too.
What? So is this what you meant by invasion problems?
Yeah, invasions either on or they're not. There's not really an in between for invasion.
Exactly.
You either the first day you don't expect much because you typically end up seeing them earlier in the rounds of double elimination because those idiots never win enough games to be on top most of the time. So you end up seeing them earlier than you want to, and then you have to fight to get past round 2 because they're seated 7 or 8 somewhere in the middle.
Sometimes half the time, and then the other half the time
yeah, they're literally 1 or 2 or they're 8 or 9. There's no 5 or there's no middle ground for them.
It's one or the other extreme wise. Well, I'm looking at the bracket for foam, and I mean Invasion's seated first, right? Is this correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or am I correct to say that? Yeah,
First by a lot.
Yeah, and so I mean, up until you guys faced Pop That, it was it seemed like it was almost a done deal. Pretty heavy on the dominance there, and then Pop That came in and I guess threw you guys for a loop, or what happened there?
No, I don't actually remember the foam game against Pop That before finals.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't remember it at all, actually. Weird.
I was playing at the same time, so I didn't see that game.
I think it was pretty uneventful. It was I think it was 2-0.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
I don't remember it either. Clearly wasn't that eventful because no one remembers it.
Oh, no. So we're looking at, the reason we don't remember it is because the bracket that we're looking at is the game 2 in the finals, right?
Well, before that, though.
Before that, no, they beat us. They beat us both times because they knocked us into we're literally looking at the bracket. They knocked us into the losers bracket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Invasion, and then
in the finals, you guys took the first series, and then we took the second series.
Oh, yeah, that's what happened. We had to beat you guys twice. We only beat you guys once.
Gotcha.
It's kind of confusing.
That's why. I don't know.
Brackets are hard.
So many times. I don't remember.
We've played each other, all these teams, so many times. Sometimes, like, asking us for a specific match, it's just all blurred together.
It's like good luck. Yeah, a little on the fact that this was 3 divisions, so that's just foam that we're talking about. Definitely want to dive into that a little bit later, though. But Kate, how about you? Just kind of going back to just the foam division overall. How did that go for you?
Well, I think foam is actually our team's best ball type. So we're strong in foam. Like, we like the pace. Everybody on our team can throw foam and catch foam balls pretty well. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we were meshing really well. So the tournament, that division in particular, went really well for us.
So did you guys go like full force for foam and save yourself for like no sting and rubber, or did you just play all divisions as hard as you would as foam?
Yeah, we weren't reserving any energy. I mean, by the time 8.5 came around, I just figured everybody was so exhausted that it was kind of be like, I mean, a lot of the games actually did kind of turn into like Civil War dodgeball. You know, people grounding the ball and just everyone's arms were dead.
So like nothing.
Yeah.
It becomes like a catching game.
What's that?
It becomes more like a catching game, like you don't have too many people on the offense.
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. And how about you, Brittany? How was the foam division for you overall?
We started out well in foam the first day, and then somehow I looked around and everyone was pissed off. We had a few easier rounds to play the first couple teams we played in round robin. And then it was Beavers. When we hit Beavers was like our first kind of real challenge, and we kind of had to reset ourselves and we actually had a team chat about it because we weren't on the same page. Also, by adding Jen and Cece, who Cece's always been on Pop That, but she hasn't played with us in a while. And Jen was a different component as well. We had to kind of everyone get on the same page. And, we had the little one there. So, there was that part of it too. We had to make sure that she was being watched. There's a lot of distractions going on.
Right.
So I think it was harder for us to stay focused. And then I think, midway through foam, Erica hurt her knee again too. So we had a lot of kind of variables that happened on the first day that kind of we had to all reset and regroup multiple times to kind of pull it out, the way we did. I mean, I don't think we played as well in foam as we wanted to, but again, it was kind of an adjustment for us, for everyone, with Erica getting hurt and the addition of Jen with Cece and the baby there. We had to, make sure everyone was all taken care of.
Gotcha. So you just had a lot of like external factors kind of impacting your performance for foam. Yeah,
more than we're used to. We knew Erica was hurt. We thought she was okay. And then I think and Erica definitely has, because Erica's a captain, me and Erica kind of both play our own individual roles as far as team leadership. And not having Erica there when she got hurt, it kind of shifts my role a little bit and puts a little bit more pressure on me to maintain that balance. So everyone was kind of adjusting throughout the day to not having Erica the way in which we're used to having her on the court.
Gotcha. So with this question, it's kind of like just what teams did you guys notice that showed up that either it's a done deal, like you always know that this team's gonna be great, or this team really surprised you? Starting with Bree, what teams really showed up from foam that you noticed?
I think Fuego came out of nowhere. I don't think they were seated really high the first day. Ended up getting third.
Yeah, they did really well.
Yeah, they powered through the comeback bracket.
Yeah, it looks like that's what I'm kind of reading off of Tyler's the Tribune article. LA-based Fuego had an eye-opening performance after seeding 8th. So Looks like they got the third place finish.
They were definitely on point during foam. They came out, they played together really well, and they pushed their way to third place.
And it looks like only Pop That was able to take them out. What was that? So that was, third place match. Now, was that surprising at all, or is this a team that is like kind of forming their rhythm? Because I don't know, how new are they? Do any of you guys know?
This is their first year. No, their first year as a team.
Well, I think it's the same roster as Sparta last year.
Yeah, there's been different iterations of the same team. It was a rebranding of some new players.
Yeah.
Yeah, they brought on a couple new players, Emmy being one of them. But they have their core group, which is Bev, Christina, Ryan, Kira again. And I think that they definitely showed that they have some really good players on that team. And when they work well together, they have an opportunity to take on some of the top teams.
Gotcha.
And I think Emmy adds a more athletic dynamic to that team to give them a little bit more. That team is typically, you put them more in a catching area of a catching team, not a lot of arm. But I think Emmy kind of brings that more offensive mindset where she can make plays offensively and defensively for them.
Very cool.
Yeah, although I'll say in foam, Bev and Ryan were both on point with their throws. They were doing really good.
Yeah, that's what I was reading from the article. Looks like they found a rhythm with Ryan Johnson and Emmy Zappa leading the charge. And then they mentioned Bev Rivas, also being on fire. So very cool. And how about Kate? Did you notice any other teams from your perspective for foam?
It's always Pop That is like who we have our eyes on. We see each other every single tournament. Got like an old rivalry now, but I think the Beavers have haven't looked this strong in years now, and Samantha is she's a gnarly catcher. Like I remember I looked over and this was not foam actually. I think it was no sting, but I like glanced over and she just caught two balls at once, and she does that. Like I don't really know anybody else who I have seen get more than one double catch like back-to-back tournaments.
Yeah, she definitely was one of our main players this weekend. She did phenomenally.
And actually, Kirsten Bell was super strong. Like she was throwing well, she was catching well, and she's a very athletic player.
And she's also a recent addition to Beavers, right?
Correct.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm reading Samantha Greco of Beavers made a strong push to show she's one of the top players in the country. I don't think that's a secret anymore. That's pretty common now in all divisions. I mean, even in rubber, she's catching a lot, and she's just not somebody you want to throw to by yourself ever. How about you, Kelly? Any teams that you noticed for foam aside from Fuego and Beavers?
Well, I mean, Pop That, Invasion, they're always going to be teams that they bring up the competition so much. So it's a great way for us to kind of know where we're at too, because if we can take games from them or beat them in a round or do different things, it's always nice for us because we can engage off of that because they are such strong teams, and Money Shot as well. So it always is kind of great to see these same teams over and over again and be able to go toe-to-toe and continue to see how these teams grow and how we change over time. And that's really what we've seen over these last 3 years, I think.
Now, does this change with different divisions, or is it pretty much the same? Like you guys are definitely eyeballing Pop That and Invasion regardless of ball style?
Yeah. I mean, they're overall teams. Pretty much if you look at the rundown of what like the top 4 or 5 teams overall in the tournament, those are the kind of the teams you'll start to see you'll see consistency from. And so that's, as it went down the line, Invasion, Pop That, Money Shot, Beavers, Love Tap, those teams you're going to see kind of over and over again. And it shows that consistency, that it's not one ball type or the other. It's how they play together, how they're able to adapt to those different ball types, and then their teamwork.
Gotcha.
I think we're forgetting about Love Tap in this foam division, by the way.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a perfect segue. So you were next on the list to ask if you've noticed any other teams. So you want to go ahead and run with that, Brittany?
Yeah, I mean, I think Love Tap has done a lot of good homework for themselves, as far as I know. A lot of the girls watch a lot of film on that team and have learned a lot of things from watching film. And I think watching Invasion and watching Pop That and watching Beavers and learning from the teams that they know are the top teams, and they use it. Honestly, they use it against us. I mean, coming from Pop That, like, it's used against us. Like, we see that our hardest games, or they give us the toughest time because they know us so well, because they've studied what we do and how we do it. And they've done a really good job of, picking up on those things and essentially using them to be successful. They gave us a really hard game in the playoffs for foam. And I think I don't know if we tied in round robin or not. I think we did, actually, for foam. But yeah, no, they're a young team. They don't hurt as much as us oldies. We're not talking about 8.5, but I don't think they've played enough 8.5 to know how to play it yet, but they're still new. And to be that new and that good already, to be in the top 5 for most of the divisions, I think that says something about them and about their potential as a new team who just came together this year. And they won Elite. They beat us in the finals for Elite for round 1. So they're definitely a team that, as they get more experience and they get better, they'll be they're going to be at the top all the time, and they're going to give Pop That a run for their money.
Nice. And this is Crystal Bryanna's team, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's looks like they, per the article, continued to surprise with getting the 2nd seed. And I don't know if it's fair to say if it was an upset for the Elite when they won that division, but were you guys expecting that, from them to just come out of nowhere and beat you guys, or did you kind of just?
We knew we were going to have a tough. You mean for round 1? Right. We knew we were going to have a tough run. We had them figured out. We beat them 2-0 the first in round robin. But again, they adjusted. They figured out a way to adjust against us, and we didn't adjust quick enough back. We knew the solution, but we weren't capitalizing on the solution of how to beat them. So, a couple things, and we've looked at the film too, and, there are things where we're like, oh, we normally do it this way, and we didn't do it that way on that particular day. So I think it was a surprise in the sense, because Pop That doesn't like losing, and we don't, Kelly, see you laughing over there. No one can hear you laughing, but I can see you laughing. I think that Pop That is really good at adjusting for the most part. And we didn't do it that day. So they completely outplayed us, and they figured us out before we could adjust back. So every time and we've talked about it, it's been a conversation about how we beat Love Tap, but we do that with everyone. We know we have a plan for almost every team. Every top team, we have a plan, and, a way that we know how to beat them.
Gotcha. Is it, would it be fair to say, like, they kind of, I don't want to say they have, like, the element of surprise that first time, but, you took that lesson away and applied it to this division, and that's kind of what helped you guys beat them when you guys faced off against them during the winners bracket?
Yeah, we definitely took our time to watch and to figure it out and to have a game plan. When it came down to the playoffs, we knew, again, we always kind of have a plan. We know what we have to do. It's just a matter of the execution of that plan. That is the issue. And we just were able to execute for playoffs.
Gotcha.
I think what stands out the most was what they both said, finals, and Cece just going off and closing out. I think she closed out 2 games in the finals and was keeping Pop That alive.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. No, she totally beasted out in those games. Like, it was so much fun to watch. I was filming it, I was live streaming it, and it took a lot for me to not say anything into the camera, because it was exciting. It was fun to watch, and that's what you want to see when you get to these final matches. You want to see someone who is down, against 5 players, and comes back and wins the game. Those are the kind of things that are exciting and show, the true nature of these athletes and how they really are some of the most athletic people that I've ever met. So it's really impressive when you're able to watch those types of games.
So
I think it's funny too, because Cece's so calm in general. Like, she doesn't really show much emotion. And then to see her in that element, and her face is still very stoic when she's playing, but then she gets done and she's like literally yelling and like flexing her muscles, which is hilarious because it's like not a Cece thing to do, but she's so competitive inside that it just like all came out. And it was really cool to see her get so excited because as her teammate, you don't normally see her get riled up that often.
Yeah.
And she saves it for after the fact?
After she pulls it out, yeah.
That's cool. For this instance in foam, is this why she got MVP, or was there more contributions from her in the other divisions?
Oh, no, there was definitely more contributions from her across the board. She played very well, like both days. I think people obviously saw a lot of it in foam, but she was solid across the entire tournament.
Nice.
And for someone who doesn't really play, Cece just shows up when we need her. Like, she doesn't play weekly. She plays a lot of football. She plays a lot of ultimate frisbee, some soccer. Like, when we need Cece we ask Cece, like, are you committed? Yes or no? Like, you don't know what answer you're going to get. She's not always a yes.
Huh.
So when she shows up and she doesn't ever practice, she just shows up and plays with us. And then she goes back to being mom and doing whatever she does. Which is, I think, a testament to her athletic ability and how she does what she does, because most of us are playing weekly and practicing and doing all these things. And this girl just shows up, no tape, maybe some knee pads and some running shoes, and she's ready to go. So,
must be nice.
Ridiculous, but it's CC. So,
yeah. And I think that, she obviously really stood out for Pop That, but she also has such a good support system with all of her teammates in there. So it's nice to see that somebody else on the team kind of stood out within that, because there are so many heavy hitters on Pop That, which is also kind of what we saw with Invasion. I think with JoJo really shining through. I think that she's often underrated on that team, and you have the Rolinas, the Kates, the Katies, all these people that we come to expect, big hits from. And I think that JoJo really showed like her athletic ability and just really court awareness and intelligence in those games.
Gotcha. Yeah, it looks like she got a mention from the Tribune article as well. And that's already a killer lineup. Just Rolina, Nicole Chasen, Kate Gong. Like, no thanks. It's an incredible lineup. So, how long has CC been playing?
Oh my gosh, how long have we been playing? I want to say 6. She started a year after me, I think.
Yeah, she started a little bit after you guys.
So like 7 years, 6 or 7 years, I think she's been playing.
Crazy.
And what's the trophy she's holding?
It's a Jaguar.
Jaguar.
Why
every year I pick a random MVP trophy.
Got it.
So I think the first year it was a sperm whale. The second year it was a dragon egg, and this year it's a Jaguar.
Dragon egg being Game of Thrones reference, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
awesome.
Have fun with it. That's the main thing.
For
I figure they're usually getting other trophies and other medals, so this one gets to be a little bit more fun.
Gotcha. Kind of moving back to the original question of highlights and plays. How about Kate? Did you notice anything from your perspective with foam? that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I think the finals were the perfect just sort of like close look at why foam is so exciting. Like the finals were so fast paced, and the foam ball is kind of an equalizer. So basically, like everybody on Pop That and everyone on Invasion can get those big hits, and so it throws off the normal formula that we all kind of learned to stick to with, for example, 8.5, the right number of balls that get exchanged. And ball control is still very important, but those risky shots that are high risk, high reward are, I guess, maybe more likely to hit. So it's a more exciting game to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you're saying there's a higher chance of actually hitting the person versus...
For example, CC closed out 2 games against us where she just kind of went crazy. Like she started taking fast shots at our team, and if you do that with an 8.5 ball, you're taking fast solo shots, you're going to get caught. Like it's a bad idea. Even in no-sting, it's not a great idea. But in foam, especially if you have like her ball moves fast and it has some actual movement on it, so that's a smart shot to take. And so that's probably the best part about foam, is that you don't have to wait and like throw a ball and then dodge and wait for 2 more.
If you see a shot, you can take it and not have to worry too much about...
You often should take the shot when you see it. And I mean, obviously within reason, but yeah, sure. I thought the finals were memorable for me.
Very cool. And Brittany, how about you?
It's kind of like all the same. Like, you know, I mean, Cece being a friend and a teammate, like it was so cool for her to come back and do what she did this whole weekend, you know. And even for Jen, like Jen made some big plays, and Jen hasn't played with, you know, doesn't play that often either, because, you know, they're doing their mom thing. So as far as like my team is concerned, it was nice to have us all together, because it's not often that all of us play together like that. And to kind of see everyone have their moments. And I think even for teams that like teams like Fuego, and everyone kind of got their moment to shine and step up to the plate, and people did. And there were upsets, and there were, you know, there were surprises that were really cool to watch, and those moments, double catches, and just, you know, stuff throughout the weekend. And we're all dying, so everyone's on the same page as far as, you know, how tired you are and what your body feels like. And we're all kind of we're all doing it together, which I think is really cool, because you can turn the person next to you, doesn't matter if they're on your team or not, and you're like, I hurt, you hurt, like we're all doing this together. Kelly's killing us, but we're all having fun. So I just think the group of women that can come together, and how big women's dodgeball on the West Coast has gotten is really cool. And the amount it helps us as players develop overall, because we get to play against the best on the West Coast. We really do. And we have the biggest group of people. I mean, who can say they can get a tournament of 15 teams together and had to cap it because there wasn't enough court space? I don't think any other region in the country can say that about just a women's tournament. Yeah,
I mean, you have regions like the South where they're still trying to figure out how to get more women to play. So the fact that you're capping this at 15 teams, and it's six players per team, Kelly?
On the court, 8 max on the roster, unless someone gives me a really good excuse.
Nice. Yeah, that's a huge feat.
I mean, the only other, you know, Bells of the Ball has had 15, 16 teams before, and Jake's Sin City Classic also has had, you know, quite a few, but that one, they really are coming from, we have some like international players that come, and players coming from all over the United States for that one too. So it's nice to be able to capitalize on some of those that have already been up and running, and, you know, keep moving with that. But both of those are just no sting.
Yeah, they're not 3 divisions back to back to back and 2 days. Well, Sin City's 2 days, so let me slow down there.
Yeah.
I definitely have questions about Bells of the Ball, but I can push that towards later. Do you want to get into no sting? Starting with you, Bree, just what were your thoughts overall, and how did it go for you?
No sting's our best division, I would say. For the other balls, we have girls on the team that have never really played foam or 8.5, so no sting we came out firing on all cylinders. We played really well the first day. We ended up seeding first, and after kind of being disappointed in foam division, we kind of came out like ready to go, wanting to do a lot better. Ended up, I think the only team that really gave us trouble was Love Tap. Other than that, we were pretty solid throughout the bracket.
Yeah, and when you say Love Tap gave you trouble, I mean, they took like a game off you, or?
Yeah, and the third game was really close.
Yeah, and then the rest was pretty much just pure dominance there. And you guys were defending Elite No Sting champion per the article?
For nationals, yeah.
For nationals, gotcha. Did you guys play last year in the Classic as Money Shot?
Yeah.
And do you remember what you placed last year?
Last year in No Sting, we got second. We won the winner's bracket, and Pop That ended up beating us twice. So.
Yeah. Not this year.
Do you want to comment on that, Brittany?
I don't remember it. I just like that. I just wanted to bug her because I know if I picked her off still.
I don't remember. There's another tournament we won.
There's so many back and forth, like between Money Shot and No Sting and Invasion with the foam and like Beavers in the 8.5. Like we can go. There's so many games you can go back and forth with and any game could have gone either way. Even us playing Invasion in City, it could have gone. That game was so fun. It could have gone either way. But it's just. I don't know. I don't really remember it. I just like that we beat them twice.
Nice.
Barely.
Yeah, I'm sure it could. Literally, every game can go either way. It doesn't really. It's who has the best shots on that day. I don't think any one team of the top 4 teams are like, anyone can win. Honestly, like on any given day, it just depends on who's gonna make the better place.
Well, and if I think that. What I noticed about Pop That on the first day was that you guys dropped a few games that, if you were hitting your targets, then you would have won. It just, if you're unfortunate enough to have, a lot of your players who are missing, more often than they usually do, then suddenly everything's changed and you're losing ball control. Everyone's getting frustrated.
Yeah. And you're doing a lot more work, so you're more tired because you're missing your shots. You're not getting people out the way you think you should. So, it becomes a snowball effect too. But yeah, Kate's 100% right. We didn't hit the shots we normally would hit. I mean, Hoffman on day 1 with No Sting was out of control.
Yeah.
She literally took out whole teams by herself. I just handed the ball and say, here, Hoff, go have fun. I'll watch from back here. And then, after she didn't, and then on day 2, she wasn't really hitting her shots. I know she was tired. And she also played more corner than she's used to, which I play in the corner, but we're trying to rotate a little bit. And so I think that it put a bigger strain on her shoulder and her arm than she expected it to. And I didn't make that adjustment, or we didn't make that adjustment as a team to help her out a little bit more. And everyone kind of had her number on day 2. So I think it just, if we would have hit more targets and or took some pressure off of Hoffman on day 1, maybe she would have hit more targets on day 2. I don't know.
Or maybe not got marked. It sounds like people caught on to her. Okay, we got to take her out.
Oh yeah, she was out first almost every time.
That's kind of a bummer. But that's kind of a compliment at the same time. Oh yes, I'm a threat. They're taking me out first. And this is Lauren Hoffman. You guys, did you say you called her the Hoff?
I just call her Hoff because it's easier to say. But
gotcha.
I don't ever call her Lauren. We call her Hoff or Hoffman.
We call her a lot of things, but
yeah, the ones that work for this podcast would be Hoff or Hoffman.
Gotcha. So here it says, although Invasion's Rolina Thomason and Kate Gong flexed their muscles, they came up just short in getting their second championship match that day. Kate, what does he mean by flexed their muscles?
I have
you on
no
the
idea.
spot though, but
I have no idea.
Wait. Kate has muscles?
Uh-oh. Whoops, that backfired.
I guess we we're trying to show our strength and fell short. I guess that's what he's trying to say. I mean, and he's right, but I mean, I said earlier, Nosting's not a very strong ball type for us. A lot of us started out playing 8.5 and have transitioned well into foam, but although we're strong across ball types, I don't think any of us really love Nosting.
Which is weird because you play all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a year when I actually didn't play a single league, but you're right. I've been playing it for a long time.
I mean, Nosting is like the go-to ball
for you're right. It's the ball that
all leagues in LA.
Yeah, I remember when I started playing, I actually couldn't throw it at all, and yeah, I still don't like it very much.
So it's definitely not your preferred ball. What real quick, what is your preferred 3?
It was always 8.5, and now I think it's probably foam.
I think the older teams fare better in 8.5. By older, I literally mean older. The ones who have been around longer, because we used to play 8.5 for in Arizona
years, yeah.
When they first started. Well, when I first started playing 8 years ago, and then I started playing Elite because of stupid Justin 6 years ago, it was all 8.5, and the women were playing 8.5. So a lot of us who have played for that long are used to playing 8.5 and know how to play that game, and we play co-ed Elite with the 8.5. A lot of the newer, younger teams don't play it. They don't know how to play it. They don't know how to throw it. They don't really know. There's a different strategy with 8.5 than the other 2 balls because it is heavier and it's a lot more work to throw. And so it's more about your placement than it is about your power. And I think that's why when you look at the brackets, and we're going to 8.5, you look at the brackets for 8.5, the teams that were the higher teams are the teams that have been around the longest because we know how to play. Beavers, Invasion, Pop That. Love Tap was there in the losers bracket, but still lost to Invasion. So, which I think Love Tap did really well in 8.5, considering the first day they didn't do great at all. I think they were trying to figure it out. But yeah, you can see the top teams are the teams that have been around the 3 of us. Invasion, Pop That, and Beavers have probably been around the longest, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know I told my team going into the 8.5 division that there were 2 teams we had to really keep an eye on, and that was Beavers and obviously always Pop That. But I know I was the most nervous for the Beavers because, I mean, between Stephanie Lynch and Kelly and Kirsten, it's like these are 3 girls who've been playing 8.5 for like almost a decade. Or Kelly, is that right? Still laugh at me. I have no idea.
I was thinking about how old I am. Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing 8.5 for over 10 years, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, you know how to. It's a different game. You play the game differently, and so it's interesting watching the younger teams play it as though it's Nosting or foam.
Yeah, they definitely they take shots that we know you shouldn't. Yeah. So it's easier for us to capitalize on that, but
they also, like, some of their best catchers don't even they're like, it's weird, they don't know how to handle I've seen them drop like really weird balls. They like make amazing catches with the other 2 ball types and then like fumble an 8.5 ball. I think it's just practice, but we don't really play that anymore. So
yeah, we used to play 8.5 women's for Elite too, and they took that because it was too hard to get enough women's teams to play 8.5, and it was easier to get teams to play Nosting for women. So that's why Elite Women is now Nosting instead of it being 8.5.
Makes sense. Do you think this might be more for you, Kelly? If this was just an all women's 8.5 tournament, do you think you would have 15 teams capped? Or do you think having Nosting and foam helps?
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. But the funny thing is, when we first started it, it wasn't even just people didn't want to play 8.5. They didn't want to play foam either. So, by creating it the way it is, people came to play Nosting for the most part, a lot of teams, and they learned to enjoy playing other divisions as well. I think 8.5 is still probably one of the harder ones for people to wrap their heads around, but I've had multiple people come up to me over the years and say, actually, I'm really glad that I played it, and I actually really enjoy playing 8.5. And they never would have if I had just set it up where you could choose whichever division you wanted to go to.
Gotcha. I did like that we kind of segued into 8.5 because, well, let me back up real quick. So I do agree with, I think it was Kate, what you were saying about how you're looking at Pop That Invasion and Beavers. It definitely looks like Beavers made it a lot further in the bracket for 8.5 than the others. No offense, Kelly. But when you're looking at,
we got 5th in foam, 5th in no sting, and then 3rd in 8.5.
Yeah, so that makes sense. I mean, I've known you for a very long time. You're definitely not somebody to take lightly with 8.5. Neither Stephanie or anybody else in that team. So it's for me, it's satisfying when you transition from 8.5 to, or we transition from foam or no sting to 8.5, because it's like, yeah, this is more of my game, and I understand a lot more than some of the newer balls that have been showing up. But before we get into 8.5 fully, was there anybody else or any other teams that should be mentioned during no sting? I was kind of reading along the article, and looks like a Kate Bergsgaard of Witness, which did pretty well. Do any of you guys recollect seeing her play?
Yeah, I mean, Kate played with Love Tap for this one. And Kate, honestly, is an all-around player. Before Witness, it was PTSD that she played on. And for me, she's always been one of their top players because she is extremely intelligent about what she's doing on the court and reading what other people are going to do. So I think that was a really good, pickup for them for this tournament. It's always hard when you have a new player coming on to adapt to that and try to figure out your way into it. But I think that overall she did play really well throughout.
Nice. And I also noticed, and this might be more for you, Bree, looks like they're mentioning like the underhand softball throw of Heidi Chambers. Is that like a trademark for Heidi? Does she normally throw that way? Or can you kind of speak to that a little bit, if you can recall?
She splashes it in here and there to switch it up. She likes to pump fake overhand and then quickly do an underhand throw to kind of throw people off. And she was doing that a lot with foam and no sting.
Now, is that something that is happening more in women's division? And the reason why I bring that up is because there's like a video going around of somebody doing a softball underhand throw and just like almost taking somebody's head off. And for as long as I played, I still rarely see it. So would you say you said Heidi just kind of throws this in here or there? That's like not her main way of throwing.
Yeah, I mean, Heidi has an extremely strong throw. Just overhand throw. And so I think that it's a good way of her being able to mix it up and keep teams guessing what she's going to do. But on top of that, her underhand throw, a lot like Paige from the North, the release is very quick. So the problem you start seeing with underhand throws sometimes is if the release is too slow, that wind up a lot of times can be countered. And so you won't see as many teams doing it if they can't get that quick release off. And, there's very few people that do it very well. And I think that Heidi definitely is one of them.
Gotcha. I know the person that was mentioned, and I might butcher her name, was Jennifer Giacomassi.
Oh, Jen. Yeah.
Jen.
Giacomassi.
So she's
Jen
also
has an underhand. Jen has an underhand too. Sometimes hers tends to float a little too high. But for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, but she worked on it, and it was actually really low. She was kind of skidding it right across the floor and hitting ankles, and then
that's gnarly.
Had a much better accuracy with it. And I think she did it. Obviously doesn't do it with 8.5. She for sure does it with the foam and the no sting. I think she's probably the most successful with the no sting because the weight lends itself better to kind of stay above the ground a little bit better.
Gotcha. And so with you, Brittany, with this throw, it's not so much an advantage over like your overarm throw. It's just another way to kind of trick your opponent, right? To keep them guessing. Yeah,
because the way that ball, an underhand throw, if it's done right, it'll come up at you. But if you don't let it come up too much, it'll look like it's going low, and it'll come up and hit you like kind of in like the mid shin, low ankle.
Right.
I just think it's a different, and yeah, like Bree said, it's just a different look for Heidi because Heidi has a great overhand throw, but it's very straight on. And if someone has a ball in their hand to block it, it's from experience, it's not that hard to block because doesn't move as much. Her underhand definitely moves more, where you have to either be a better blocker with it and or just get out of the way.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've only been thrown at with an underhand ball a few times, and it's such a, you're so used to seeing something coming at you overhand, you don't even think about it until it's like kind of skimming towards your shin, like you said, and you think, oh, it's not going to hit me, and then it does, or it trips you up. So I was just kind of curious to see if that's a throw that we'll see more and more as these competitions increase. But sounds like if you can throw overhand, like why change it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Well,
if you have it, why not use it?
Yeah, it's another tool. And I also think it's a good way to protect your arm if you have been throwing a lot, because the mechanics of it are much easier on your shoulder. So, if it's a thing that you're good at, might as well throw it in there every once in a while and throw people off too.
Yeah, might as well use it. Cool. So getting kind of back into 8.5 now, one thing I wanted to ask earlier was any teams or players from outside regions showing up, and it looks like Tacosaurus might have been like a predominantly East Coast team, Kelly?
Yeah, they were mostly East Coast with one West Coast, I think. So it was nice to be able to see, because we've had, East, North teams come out, but a lot of these girls, this was their first classic. So it was exciting to see some more faces. Emily Hotz, Kate Cairns were out there. Megan Fricker came back. She had been at the first one. So it's always nice when you can see some of the women from other divisions coming out. And then we also had Paige from the North, who plays with Ride or Die. So nice. I like being able to see some of the women that we don't always normally get to play against, since I see these girls' faces all the time.
In terms of notable players, Stephanie Baxter, obviously she's getting mentioned in this article, is arguably the best player in the division. I would probably have to agree. Any of you guys notice Stephanie this past weekend, and what did she do to deserve that kind of accolade?
No one remembers Stephanie. She doesn't do anything in 8.5.
Wait, Stephanie who?
No idea.
Brett Baxter's wife, Stephanie,
yeah,
from Arizona.
Stephanie and 8.5 are like this little happy, like married old couple. Like she was so excited when 8.5 started. Like it made her entire day. She was dancing around on the court. Like she went for every catch, and I think she caught almost all of them. And so it was just always fun to see. She's my little weirdo on the court. I love her.
She's an odd one. Not really.
But it's hard because, like most of the Beavers, she really enjoys 8.5, and so this is our only tournament where she gets to do that with women's. So I think for all of us, we get really excited when that division starts for, like Brittany said, kind of the older crew. And it kind of just gets us rejuvenated. I think we, as tired as you are going into 8.5, because it's the last division, the other teams might not be looking forward to it as much, but we are so excited. It's like a second win.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it's like you see a different side of Beavers. Was Stephanie as jovial with no sting and foam, or did she just like wake up during 8.5?
She's always, she's always Steph. So there's no question there. But with 8.5, it was like a whole nother level for sure.
Gotcha.
She was smiling the entire time. Literally just laughing.
She'd just come up to me before the game start dancing and giggling. So if all I can give is that to our players, then I'm happy.
That with days of pain.
Our co-ed team, Echo, unfortunately for Bet, everyone calls her the better Baxter.
I mean, that's been a fact for years now, so that's nothing new here in Arizona either. I did want to ask you, Kate, and again, it's probably just a blur, but let's see. Article says Beavers met Invasion again in the deciding comeback bracket match after eliminating both Money Shot and Love Tap. This time, Invasion avoided throwing the catches that gave Beavers the edge during the bracket play. Kate Gong and Relina Thomason's arms proved too much for the Beavers as they moved on to the revenge match against Pop That. So maybe this is what he meant by flexing your muscles, but do you remember that match at all, Kate?
The one between us and Beavers or between us and Pop That?
You and Beavers.
I think I managed to not throw a catch to Carrie Morrison, so I was really proud of myself for that.
That's big.
She catches me like,
Did you throw a catch toward the first set of games? I assume. How many catches did you throw toward the first set?
oh, I don't know if. Oh, actually, now that you mention it, I think she caught me in maybe every ball type. Maybe not.
You guys, Kate caught me in 8.5. I was so mad about it. I thought I had her, and I didn't. Ruined it.
Well, I threw a really awful catch to Shannon Murphy. She caught me right on her neck.
Jeez.
A really stupid throw, but it's an amazing catch.
Yeah, that was a really great catch on Shannon's part. That was during the finals.
Yeah, Shannon's always so composed. She'll just pull out these crazy catches and then pass her ball like nothing happened.
Like, nah, I don't want this.
Have someone else throw it.
No big deal.
I'll wait here.
So the second part of that question, Kate, was when you went off to Invasion, looks like you had multiple games saving catches along with Angelique Garospe. How do you say your last name?
I am not sure. I
Awesome.
think it's Garospe, but I'm not positive.
What a friend you are.
We just call her Leek, so I'm not really sure how to pronounce her last name.
Fair enough. Do you remember those catches at all between you two, or was it just like any other day for you guys?
I had a 1v1 with Rachel, and Rachel can throw every ball type like an absolute cannon. And I was actually terrified, but I was also so tired that we went back and forth a few times, and she just, I think she was probably trying to throw a little bit lower, but caught her on my back line, and then the other one's against Britt, and Britt, if you just thrown at my face, or
I know I should have aimed higher.
just thrown a little higher.
This is Rachel Rodia from Arizona.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got a freaking cannon on her. Doesn't matter what ball.
But that no look though, that no look is so good.
Of Rachel's?
Yeah,
Her foam no look.
she's very impressive.
She's fun to watch. Fun to play against too.
She's just like a nice person, which in this group doesn't always happen.
Do you want to speak to that at all, Kelly?
Except for Bree.
What? Breeze just doesn't know what to say most of the time.
Not always nice.
Brianna's like, hey, I am nice.
No, Rachel's a super interesting person to play with because there's a lot. Rachel's really good at strategizing and understanding the game, but she doesn't always say it. So you got to kind of talk to her and get it out of her. And she's really good about, she told me because she was getting a little bit excited and out of control and pretty much made a camping zone at the front line by herself in the corner and got picked off a couple of times because she wasn't paying attention. And I looked at her, I'm like, Rach, she's like, I know, next time just yell at me. Like she's very much a team player, and she's very like, she doesn't get her feelings hurt. She's like, just yell at me and tell me to get back. Like she's, and she's very good and also very strategic for the most part, and also can put herself in the place to be like, hey, tell me what I need to do, and or hey, give me a no look because I'm a little bit jittery right now and I need something to I need to take somebody out to feel calm. So
it's also kind of difficult also to, I mean, she's still a relatively new player, and then to move into a team as established as Pop That, it's probably kind of challenging, a little bit intimidating. So
yeah, and she was like, asking her to be a part of Pop That. I know she was floating between Invasion and Pop That for a while. I think she was also just excited to kind of have a home and she's been amazing. We've obviously welcomed her with open arms, and enjoyed having that more consistent player who is going to show up to every tournament, and you're not going to have a question of, oh, is Rachel coming? Because pretty much most tournaments she's down, and she'll be there and she'll perform. And the biggest thing for us in Pop That is being a family and caring for each other, and she definitely has become a part of our family, which has been awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's good to point out too, last year for the Classic, she played with Invasion, and she actually got the MVP last year.
Yeah, she was on fire last year.
Nice. And it looks like Pop That, this was your first championship after 2 near misses in the other divisions. So what do you think contributed to that? Like, what was the final, almost like the missing element that helped you guys win 8.5, but how did that differ from the other divisions?
I remember telling the girls, even for no sting, when we played against Money Shot, I told them and looked at them, I said, we're not a second place team. For us, winning is always the goal, of course. And I think we were all so frustrated with getting second place. The first foam division, fine, but it really hit us, I think, after no sting. We all were very annoyed by it. I was particularly upset about it, only because I feel like we didn't put our best foot forward and we didn't really play up to our standards, and hit the shots we should have been hitting and making the catches we should have been making. And I think at the end of it, for the 8.5, we were all just so pissed and tired of being in second that we just wanted to pull one out at least, especially coming from last year where we won 2 divisions and we got second in the other one. Is that right? Is that right, Kelly? I know we won 2 out of the 3.
Last year?
Yeah.
Oh, last year.
Yeah, last year you won no sting in 8.5.
Yeah, so I think we lost in the finals for foam. So
yeah, Invasion won foam.
Yeah, of course. Coming in with those high of expectations for ourselves and wanting to kind of either repeat or do better than the year before, it was a letdown for us. But at the end of the day, I think we all grew a little bit more because we did have a lot more challenges, and teams are getting better, and so we have to grow too, and it's not always so easy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. I like what you said too about, it's all about the struggle, and you guys are hurting, and you just look to your left and your right, and it's that person next to you is, as in as much pain or as exhausted as you are, and just to be able to kind of push through and get that final surge of focus and energy to pull a first place win. That's pretty awesome, and I'm sure that really helps the camaraderie of the team overall, especially going into Elite and some of the other events that are coming up. So
yeah, and I don't know if people realize like how much of a weight Erica has as a captain on our team. And like I said, we balance each other out a lot in many ways in leading the team. But I did have to go to her and I'm like, I need you today. Like, I need you to be in our huddles. I need you to give energy because I'm tired and I'm hurting. And a lot of the girls, I call a lot of the plays, and that's kind of my role. But Erica's kind of more of the emotional regulator in a sense, and the hype girl, if you will. And so I needed her energy on Sunday, and so it was a struggle. It was a struggle for us as a team to kind of maintain the energy, especially losing the weight of Erica that is very important emotionally for our team and for our morale. And so I was happy that I'm like, I need you in the huddles. I don't care. Do the huddles, have the energy, clank your crutches together. I don't care, but I need you today. And that's kind of always been our relationship for a while. I'll look at him like, I need you, I need you to be there for me today. And it was hard for us, without her being on the court.
And this is Erica's the one on the far left in this picture I'm looking at with the jeans?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Cool. That answered my question there. Well, very cool. Well, congrats on taking the 8.5 division, and kind of wanted to ask for like just final thoughts on with Bree and Money Shot and your win with your division. Any final thoughts just overall with the tournament?
I think it's one of the best, if not the best, women's tournament out there. And you really have to, in order to compete, you got to be able to play all ball types. I think right now it's pretty obvious that Invasion and Pop that have an advantage, especially if you look at the final points. Just they placed top 3 in all the divisions. And I think for the other teams to kind of close that gap, just have to keep playing in this tournament and get better with foam and 8.5. But I like that this tournament adds that challenge. It's not just one ball type.
And it's a cumulative thing, right? So Invasion was like the overall tournament champion. Is that fair to say, Kelly?
Yes. Yeah, they won in overall points.
And so with you, Kate, how does that feel, being able to walk away from that, to walk into this monster of a tournament and be deemed the overall champion with all those points that you accrued and how you guys did?
I mean, it's really nice to win. Like we also love to win, but we're a very emotional team. So I felt really good about the team energy going into the weekend, but you can juxtapose that with how we performed at round 1 of Elite, which was really dismal. So, it was the boost that we needed. When we play the way we're supposed to, and we're all happy and having fun, then we're great. Like we play well together, we have a great time, and we often win. But when we get down on ourselves or something's a little bit amiss, we have a lot of trouble fixing that. And I think we've gotten a lot better at that over the years. But I think it's a good way to go into round 2 and hopefully the rest of the year. So I'm excited about that.
Gotcha. So would you say it's like a pretty good morale boost for your team?
Oh yeah,
to walk away from this. I mean,
definitely.
It should up anybody's spirits. That's no small feat at all.
This is the first time. This is the first year that Pop that was not the overall invitational winner. So it was a different team as well.
What was this?
I just want to make sure everybody knows. Just want to make sure everybody knows, Brett. Hashtag fit like Brett.
Hashtag whatever.
Didn't sting at all. Which one was this? Was this the third?
Yes.
So Pop that had taken first, and the second.
Yeah, they were the overall winners of the first and the second, pretty handedly. There really was no way that someone was going to catch up to them. But this year, all the teams were much closer in points.
Gotcha. Well, not to add insult to injury, but Britt, any final thoughts on the tournament overall and what you're gonna do next?
No, I mean, I think that it just goes to show that the competition is getting better, and that the points show. We lost by 3 points. I think lost second place by 3 points to Invasion. And it just goes to show that everyone's stepping up and everyone's getting better. And as being one of the top teams, we also have to get better if we want to maintain what we've been doing for so long. And it is getting harder. It does. And I'm sure Kate and Bree can say the same thing. It's not as easy anymore as it used to be. It's not as cut and dry. We can get through the first 2 or 3 rounds as long as Invasion is not in the lowest seeded ever, because you end up seeing them in the second round. But generally speaking, we don't really think or worry about the first couple rounds, because you kind of know what's going to happen. And then, you get to Invasion and you get to Beavers and now it's like, you don't know who you're going to get. And, even like Fuego, I'm sure no one thought that Fuego was going to beat any of the teams that they beat, in the last couple rounds, and they placed third. It just goes to show, like I said, everyone's getting better, which is awesome for the sport and awesome for girls.
Yep. Plus it keeps you sharp too. And you're going to want to practice and get better and continue to elevate with everybody else. So that's always a very good sign.
Oh, yeah, it's nice to be reminded of that.
Some more
What?
That we're like getting old and there are younger players.
Yeah, we're getting old.
Speak for yourselves.
Except for Bryanna.
You guys
I think Money Shot was kind of the first start of that. Sorry, baby Bree, of the first round of like a younger team, a newer team who just keeps getting better. And it used to just be kind of Invasion, Beavers, and Pop That. That was kind of what it was. And everyone 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, whatever it was, that was, there was a big gap between the top 3 and the lower everyone else, essentially. And I think Money Shot kind of started the ball rolling on changing that, where there's not just top 3 anymore, or top 2, it's top 5. The top 5 teams are consistently the top 5 teams now. And on any given day, anyone can be in a different position.
That's awesome. And I just noticed, Bree, is that a fanny pack?
Oh, yeah. we all got fanny packs.
It's not just me or
medals. Everyone else has them.
They're all wearing them.
Is that a team thing or?
No, those were part of the prizes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh, I see him now.
More fanny packs.
There you go.
Just a fanny pack.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, I think that's all I got for you guys. So we can go ahead and end that portion there. So before we actually dive into the rest of the divisions and whatnot, I did want to ask and kind of pick your brain a little bit, Kelly. What inspired this event? Where did this come from?
Well, honestly, it was a truly selfish endeavor. I think most people know that I really enjoy 8.5. And so when it was no longer being played at Elite, I was disappointed. And I wanted to be able to play it again. And usually what I was being told was, well, there's not enough teams that want to play. And I figured if I could kind of make it so that there was a division that they really liked playing in, maybe one that they didn't like as much, and one they've never played before, that if they just had to play in them all, eventually the women in general would start to figure out different types of ball types and really across the way start to enjoy different styles of dodgeball as well. Because what we were seeing a lot is if it wasn't no sting, then you wouldn't get the amount of teams that were needed for a tournament. And so I really wanted to build something that kind of went off all of that. So, it wasn't just one ball, it was multiple balls. And it wasn't that you could sign up for any division, it's that you had to sign up for them all. And I took away a lot of the choices and in that way kind of, forced the women to expand their boundaries and what they think, they can do in dodgeball and different ways to play. And to just really try to encourage women to play different ball types, because I think that diversity of styles and different options really helps to expand their possibilities as well. Around the same time that I started it, I had just finished playing in Worlds in Hong Kong and in Vegas, and foam was becoming more and more of a ball type as well. And yet most of our players on the team had never played foam. And so it was another opportunity for me to kind of prepare myself, prepare other women for this style that was becoming an international style that they needed to be able to play.
Gotcha. And when you first started this, did you see it becoming what it was this past weekend?
No, not at all. The first year I was, hoping that I'd get like 8 teams, and I still think it's kind of crazy. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so people know me, and I think that was part of the trust that they had. But, I just decided I wanted to do a tournament and people were going to send me money and I was going to set it up. So the fact that they did that and 14 teams did that just right off the bat, I was really excited about that. And it showed me that my interests and what I wanted to see in women's dodgeball was shared by other women. And so it's really helped to kind of catapult that idea of, women want to be able to play multiple ball types. They want to play the best teams and they want a tournament that pushes them to their limits. And so it was just nice to be able to see that there was that support within the dodgeball community of women that kind of showed, yeah, let's do this. Let's keep going with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably definitely showed you that there's like a demand for this. Like maybe you kind of awakened that because it became an option. And that was going to kind of tie into my next question, and that was, how does this differ from other tournaments? And the only one I can honestly think of is, without talking about the NDL, is the Bells of the Ball, and that's a World Dodgeball Society event. And does that still happen?
Yeah, it happens every year, usually the third weekend of September.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a very popular event, and I know people who run it. I've played in it multiple times. It's purely no-sting, but it is also competitive. So it's just another opportunity for women to get together. One of the other bigger differences is the team size. So Bells of the Ball, instead of a traditional 6 setup that we see in Elite and what I do at the Classic, it's 10 players. So teams usually either have to combine, or you find kind of those extra players that aren't set on teams to be able to build that into your team. Gotcha. And then also we have Sin City Classic. So like I said, that's probably the tournament that gets the most number of women's teams. And it's because it just draws so many people into Vegas. And Jake does a really good job of, not only organizing the tournament, which we all know he does, but just setting a tone. Everything about the Sin City Classic is so much fun. So it gives the women another opportunity to play there.
Gotcha. And in terms of like variances, I mean, this is 3 divisions, it's 2 days, and you're not trying to, well, obviously you want to win a division, but you're trying to play for like an overall championship, right? So in the case of Invasion, they didn't win some of the divisions, but they won overall because of points.
Correct. Well, they won 1 division,
right.
And they were, so when I started it, I thought about when I used to play track, and I was like, well, you have your individual events and you have an overall team that is all one. And so I kind of looked at it that way.
Nice.
And thought about how we could do a different point system based off of where you place in each event. And that's where that idea was born from.
And was that the standard for the first one as well?
Yeah, it hasn't changed over the 3 years. So
nice.
Each win that you get in round robin is a point, and then based off of where you place in each division is how many points you get for that division.
Gotcha. And that's how you have a situation where like Invasion wins 1 division, but they still win the entire event because they just did super well, I guess, during round robin. Is that where the points are accrued, or?
Yep. So the other thing that I loved is that, for so many tournaments, it's like, oh, well, it's round robin. It doesn't really matter.
I hate that.
I never wanted that to be a part of this tournament, because for me, the highest level of everything should matter. And I wanted kind of the women to think of it that way as well. I didn't want, throwaway plays and games and, oh, well, whatever. Throughout the tournament, I wanted to see how far each one of these athletes could push themselves. And you don't get that unless round robin matters. And awesome. So this year, like I said, the points were all a lot closer together. I think going into day 2, so right after round robin, Invasion was only 5 points ahead of Pop That, which in years past, Pop That had been like 10, 15 points ahead of other teams. So it was much closer. And then the final scores, I think they were still only like 4 points different. So Pop That was able to make up a little bit of space, but other than that, Invasion pretty much held strong. And then our 3rd, 4th, and 5th place teams were all within 1 point of each other.
Yeah, they're pretty dang close. So now for round robin, is it best 2 out of 3, or is it a time limit, or how does that work?
It's timed. So this year we had 6-minute rounds, and it's however many wins you can get within that. So, it really does add to that. You push yourself to get as many wins as you can so that you can get those points. Now, I've kept it that way because it lends to the point system so well. If you do a best 2 out of 3, you're not going to see as much variance.
Right.
But also because I like to make sure that everything is running on time. I'm a little bit particular about that.
A little bit.
And so, you could ask some of the other girls. I scream at them to get on the court, tell them that we need to get going, all these things. But the reality is, by keeping it timed, I can make sure that they do get to play every single match that they were supposed to. So
Nice.
Every single team in this tournament played each other every round or every division and every ball type. So like they literally played each team 3 times. And that's how I'm able to make sure that they're getting the most out of their experience as well. So I like the setup because it just adds to the whole purpose behind the tournament. And then also it keeps me organized and everything running smoothly.
Nice. And like you said, it's, if I'm playing against a team, I know that this does count. I can't just discount this as round robin and shouldn't say ever, this doesn't matter. So
right. That
immediately like heightens the mentality behind it and how hard you're going to go and how seriously you'll take each specific round. Why the classic? Like, did you come up with that name? And let's start with the name. Why call it the?
Oh God. Honestly, I don't know. When I was like playing around with things, I was just trying to find something that sounded nice. And it was originally just San Diego Classic Women's Dodgeball Invitational. Obviously this year it was in LA, so we called it LA. But now that we've branched out more, I've just been calling it Classic Dodgeball Invitationals, and should be working on, website soon, getting some stuff out there. But yeah, it just flowed, I guess. I don't know.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So is it becoming its own entity or organization then?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of at that point where I have to make a decision, and I've reached out to some people to get some advice and figure out which way we need to go. But it seems as if there is a desire for more of these tournaments. And so I'll keep working with people to see where that will best take us.
Awesome. Yeah, and I remember, was it 2013 San Diego Classic, June, but that was just like 8.5. So that wasn't necessarily tied or didn't inspire this particular tournament, correct? That was just kind of like a for funsies kind of deal. Gotcha. Did want to ask, is there anything? Well, I guess Tyler asked this one from Facebook. Now that you've done this tourney 3 years in a row, is there anything you think you would change for this? I guess while it's still fresh in your mind, or anything you'd like to have done differently or will do differently for the next one?
As far as the organization of the tournament, I don't think that'll change very much. The setup, time, matches, round robin, points, all of that. Obviously, I want it to grow. So some of that expanding will have to be with trying to find facilities that can hold more teams, and just trying to make sure that as we grow, that doesn't mean that the women lose time playing. So that's something that I'm most concerned about. Is we've set a bar for what this should look like and how much playtime these women deserve and should get. And I don't want to go under a certain amount of that. So if we're going to keep expanding, part of that will be to get more courts. That way there's pretty much still the same amount of playtime and the least amount of sitting possible.
Gotcha. So yeah, you're opening it up to more teams, but you're not taking away from game time because, like you said, that's the point. Like, you're supposed to play every single person or every single team. Yeah.
And then other than that, I mean, for this tournament, like I said, it's the third year. We've done little changes here and there. Jake has really been a huge help to me. His experience and giving me different tips, and Mark as well, has kind of helped me to get to this spot. And Jake Dayev also does so much of the, minute-to-minute things that allows me to be able to play in the tournament, including this year we had the automated system set up. So he didn't even have to call the names of the teams to go out there. It was already set up in the system. And for whatever reason, it's so much easier to hear that and everything ran even smoother. We didn't miss a beat. We weren't late. Everything ran perfectly. So, big kudos to Jake and all of my refs that helped make that happen.
Gotcha. And I was going to ask, was there any shout outs that you wanted to throw out there? We didn't really get to cover it with the rest of the panel, but just in the interest of time, aside from Jake Mason, who else would you like to shout out?
Oh, goodness. Let's see if I can remember them all. Well, every year I get a group of guys that really want to help out. And they always offer to ref. They always offer, whatever we need. They'll come, they'll set up. And so that is just such a nice thing to have, that support system for the women, that these men are offering up so much time. And I'm happy that, as we grow, I'm able to pay them as well. So this year it was really nice. But each one of these people, without knowing that they would get paid, came to me and offered their time. So nice. We had Joe Colella, obviously Justin Payan, Eric Jones, Brendan Tickner, Jeremy Lapierre, Alex Alvarez, Andrew Ketchum, Xander Simos, to go down the whole list of them. Let's see, who else? Kale Harrell,
for
obviously.
some reason, I just want to say Kale's name. Hi, Kale.
Kale, yeah. Who obviously is, one of my go-to people all the time, because he's very good at being able to interpret the rules, talk to the players about it, and he has a high trust with all of the women there. So it's really nice to be able to have that within the group. And hold on, I feel like I'm missing someone. Casey Moses. Whew, see, keep going. I'll probably think of somebody else, but a lot of them have been there since the first tournament. They've offered to help, and even day of, because we had some people not be able to show up, we had other people just jump in that were just coming to watch, and we're like, oh, you need an extra ref on that one? Sure, let me just jump in and help out real quick. Nice. So things like that kind of show you that not only are the women, excited about this, but the men in our community are too. And it's really appreciated.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. And then also Mike McGee, he was out here to watch their women's team from the East, and he also offered to ref. So wow. It was really great to see even that support from the East Coast.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So he came out to watch. Does he have teammates playing with him then, or just people from the East Coast that he was supporting?
His girlfriend, Sammy, was playing on the East Coast team, the Taco Source. So it was cool. He came out to support them, and in return, he reached out and said, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And so it all worked out, and it was really nice.
Awesome. Was he by chance one of those guys that stepped in last minute?
No, he had volunteered beforehand, but cool. I think it was Patrick from up in the Bay Area, Marco from LA, and a couple other people kind of just popped in. I think Tony Sanchez at one point. So, I was kind of all over the place, but I would all of a sudden turn and see somebody else on the court, nice. Which was, it's great to see. And it's always nice when you see them coming out anyway to support, loved ones and friends. So it's just nice. It creates a good community.
Very cool. I did want to mention one more source question. That was Sergio Leone. He asked, how does it feel to have the hashtag Kelly tried to kill us as a staple in the dodgeball community? What's that feel like?
It's actually nice. I mean, I'm honored because I feel like it came out of a place of, almost like happiness. For a long time, I'd have to go back and look at the original posts and see if I could even find them. But it was, along the lines of, we finally got what we've been asking for. Who knew we could hurt this bad? All these types of things. And I think that it just goes to show that there was definitely a space needed for women within this. And it's kind of cool that it's gone so far, that we've been able to continue it, and that, you know, these ladies appreciate all of the hard work that goes into it. You know, I got a thank you card and gift cards, and I just have to tell all the women who have ever played in the tournament a huge thank you, because it really does mean everything. And I think that it gives me the, you know, nerve sometimes and the strength sometimes to just say, okay, well, let's do this again, and let's do a co-ed one, and let's go to different cities and figure out where we can go next, because the feedback and the support has been so strong and so supportive that I know we can keep going, and that there's still more to be done. So, you know, the hashtag was just kind of the first of those things, and I love it. And like I said, one thing I wanted of a tournament is that you have very little rest time and you're getting pushed to your limits. So I guess I did my job. Yeah,
I was just going to say, it kind of shows that you're doing your job well. So it's funny because I remember first seeing that pop up, and like, I don't think it was last year, maybe it was the year prior. And I had no idea what was going on with the Classic and the tournament. I just saw, I think like Stephanie Baxter had mentioned it. So it came up on my feed, and I was like, I wonder what Kelly tried to do. Like, was it like she just feed everybody shots, or did she almost hit somebody with a car, or did she like invite them to work out with her? Because I know like you're just insanely active. So I would try to figure out what it was, and then I finally caught on, and I was like, oh, I see. It has to do with the Classic. So it's kind of cool that it's like becoming the brand, I guess. So I was expecting to see a lot of that hashtag populate this past weekend. So it's
yeah, it's definitely fun, and I know Mark is insanely jealous of it, so that makes all of us laugh pretty hard. So
that's awesome. I wanted to ask, and I'm sure you probably have to be really general about this, but scouting. When I recapped the Twin Cities Throwdown, I was able to talk just a little bit with Brett Furlong about male scouts. So was this an event that had scouts for the women's team?
Absolutely. We actually had 3 women's scouts at this event, and one of the men's scouts as well. So it was myself, Nicole Chasen, and Kate Cairns were all there playing and watching teams. And Kale Harrell is also there reffing, so he got an opportunity to kind of see exactly what we were, you know, scouting and looking at as well, which is always nice to be able to have that crossover.
Nice. What can you talk about what some of the things you were looking for?
Sure.
Can you speak to that, I guess?
You know, so for these first rounds of scouting, it's really looking at, for me, you know, possibility. So what we're scouting for right now is to then go to a combine where all the players will come, they'll play, they'll do different, you know,
dodgeball tasks,
dodgeball
or
things,
actions,
kind of different clinics type things, and then also be able to play against each other, put them together on different teams. So for this first part of scouting, what I was really looking at is potential. Can you get to a certain level? Can you pull through when you're needed the most? Can you push to this level and then succeed, you know? And then how do you handle it when you don't? Do you come back the next division and do you play well anyway? Those were some of the things that I was looking for on top of just basic skill. So obviously on the West Coast, I feel like we have a lot of skill. We have a lot of really amazing players, which makes, you know, my choices a lot harder. But as far as this first round goes, I really wanted to see, okay, well, who do I need to see in general all come together and play with each other? Because I think oftentimes we see, you know, a mixture of Pop That, Invasion, sometimes money shot players. But who else could I see standing next to them and mixing in with that? And how would that kind of sort of roll out. And that's what the combine will be for, is to see those different players playing together. And so a lot of what went into figuring those players out is, looking at that potential and seeing if you can work together and how you persevere across a tournament this hard.
Nice. So there's definitely a lot of factors. It's not, this person throws 80 miles an hour, Team USA, baby.
Absolutely not. Because that means nothing if they're throwing it at nobody, like they have no accuracy, or if every time they throw they're getting countered.
Or cohesion,
court awareness, understanding of your team, your players, that's all part of it. And all of that was looked at this weekend by all of the scouts.
Awesome. Very cool. The only other question I have, I could probably pick your brain for the next hour and a half, but I just want to kind of keep it short. And that is there anything that you're already looking forward to for the next one? Next one being next year, or the next classic, or?
Yeah. So the next one should be the Co-Ed Classic. So we did our first Co-Ed Classic in December of 2017, and I was actually pleasantly surprised because we did it very short notice. I think I set it up within a couple months of how many teams came out for it. So for that one, we had 18 teams, and it was equal gender ratio. So my biggest goal for this tournament was to make sure that if we're playing co-ed, we're playing it on an even playing level. And I think that when we get the 4-2 or even the 3-6 ratios, you start to see a little bit of a difference in how women are expected to play on the court, maybe, or who's expected to have a ball. And by forcing the issue of it being equal, which we can do on the West Coast because we have so many amazing women players, that what we really did was allow them to play in roles that they would naturally play on their women's teams as well. So it wasn't just to sit back and catch. It was, you're going up, you're throwing, you're catching. You are a major part of this team because there's only 3 guys and there's 3 girls and we need you. So it really changes up the dynamic on the court. And I got nothing but positive feedback from that whole organization and how it was set up. So I'm really glad that was able to kind of work, because it was a little bit of a trial almost. There's not a lot of tournaments that do that. And so seeing that happen and being so popular and people being so excited about it really made me understand that there's also kind of a space for that. And so the second Co-Ed Classic will hopefully be again in the beginning of December, which is where it was last year. And we'll work on getting some more courts because, like I said, I wasn't expecting that many last year, but I also didn't want to cap that one. So there wasn't quite as much playing time as what the women get in the Women's Classic, but we're gonna work on that and see if we can't up some of that time.
Nice. I'm kind of smirking because I played in that, and that was the first and most cramping I've ever experienced in my entire life. I jumped up and my whole right side of my body just cramped. I was like, what just happened? I broke something, seriously. It was freaking me out. And but I wondered, because I was like, is this what they mean by hashtag Kelly tried to kill us? I'm like, did I just get a taste? And it felt like that's all it was. It was just a taste of what actually happens with the Women's Classic. So
yeah, because in that one I had to make pools. So you didn't get to play every team. And it was a longer period. I think you had 8 minutes to play in your pool. But yeah, I was wanting more from it. And I didn't even get to play in it. So I wanted more from you guys. But it was still so cool to watch. And from an organizer's point of view, I know, every team wants to win every division. They want to win overall. But whenever I see in the Women's Classic or what happened in the Co-Ed Classic, different teams winning each division, that's always so much more fun. Right. I think that it shows, different sides of each team. And for me, when you go out there and you have 3 different winners, it shows that, something's going on. You're seeing differences here. And it's cool to be able to see how the teams stay the same, but differ across ball type and where that places them.
Nice. Yeah, it kind of goes both ways too, because like if you can take a team that can hang with foam, no sting, and 8.5, you know that they've got their synergy just solid. So, but you're right. It's also good to see the variations of divisions, different teams capitalizing in different areas. So all around, it's really cool. And I'm kind of bummed now that I didn't really get to experience the full classic, but looking forward to it in December. And I'll know to be really hydrated next time, and not. I'll know what I'm getting into at least, or at least have a better idea.
Yeah, get lots of bananas.
Yeah, bananas and water. Just do not stop drinking water. Cool. Well, that's all I have. I mean, I can definitely probably pick your brain a lot more about the classic, but I just wanted to at least get some insight. So I definitely appreciate the time to cover it a little bit more. So yeah, we'll go ahead and end the interview there. Alrighty, so there you have a recap of the LA Classic that took place this past weekend. Huge thank you to Kelly and Brittany, and Kate Gong for hopping on and helping me recount the events that took place. Like I said in my opening, it looked nothing short of intense and awesome, and all around just a great event for the dodgeball community as a whole. It's just awesome to see how it's evolved and continues to do so. I also wanted to give another thank you for Kelly for staying on after the interview to kind of help paint a better picture of the classic in general, where it came from, where it's going, and all the in-betweens. That was a great chance for me to talk to you, Kelly, about that. So thank you so much. And last but not least, and I probably need to do this way more often, but huge shout out and thank you to Nick Tantillo of Nick Tantillo Productions. You're a monster. I know people are pretty impressed with the amount of episodes I'm able to produce, but that's only because of you, man. So if you're listening to this, thank you so much. And I'll just end it there. For everyone else, thank you so much for listening, for your feedback. They're always welcome. I know I say that every time, but just going to throw that out there again. Very much looking forward to the next wave of recaps that come our way with the Elite Round 2s coming up. And I'll leave it at that. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time.